The wind howled through the dense pines of the Adirondack Mountains, rattling the frost-kissed windows of my rustic cabin as I, Alara Quinn, carefully packed the last of my hand-painted canvases into a wooden crate. It was November 20, 2025, my 32nd birthday, and the overcast sky outside echoed the quiet turmoil in my heart. For weeks, I'd poured my soul into creating gifts for my family's Thanksgiving gathering. A vibrant oil painting of the autumn woods for my mother, a detailed watercolor of the family lake house for my father, and a sketchbook filled with charcoal portraits of my younger brother, Jasper, capturing his mischievous grin. The phone rang at 4:40 p.m., my mother's name glowing on the screen. I answered, paint-stained hands trembling, expecting her usual flurry of complaints about the turkey or table settings. Instead, her voice was icy, rehearsed, like a decree from a throne. Ilara, we've decided it's best if you don't come to Thanksgiving this year. A clatter of plates and Jasper's laugh, brash, cutting, and laced with scorn, shattered the line. No offense, Al, but it's just easier without your moody art vibes. You get it, right? Dad's voice grumbled faintly, a reluctant echo of agreement. Mom pressed on, her tone clipped. It's not personal, dear. We're keeping things light and focused. Light and focused, as if I were a shadow to be trimmed, not a daughter, I thought, my grip tightening on the crate, the wood splintering slightly under the pressure. Why? I breathed, my voice a fragile whisper against the wind's roar. A pause hung heavy, deliberate. Then Mom said, "We'll address it after the holidays," and the call ended with a cold click. I stood there, the phone still warm against my ear, the unwrapped gifts glaring back at me, the painting's bold strokes a mockery, the watercolor a tribute to a father who turned his back. No tears came, just a hollow abyss, as if the wind had drained the life from my soul. I shoved the crate into a dark corner beside unused brushes and canvas rolls, locking away the proof of my rejection. The question wasn't why they'd done it, but what they'd resolved about me long before that call. A judgment woven into years of subtle slights. I grew up in a sturdy cedar lodge in Lake Placid, New York, where the crisp mountain air mingled with the scent of my mother's pine candles and dad's coffee. Mom, Sylvia Quinn, managed a chic alpine boutique, her elegance drawing wealthy skiers like bees to honey. Dad, Walter Quinn, taught environmental science at the local college. His stories of forest ecosystems inspired his students. Jasper, 5 years younger, was the golden child, raven hair glinting in the sun, a magnetic charm that turned ski races into local epics, and a flair for turning mishaps into tales of daring. I was Alara, the quiet one who painted in the attic, organized the cluttered garage, and dreamed of studying fine arts at the Rhode Island School of Design, RSID. The favoritism emerged early, insidious yet undeniable. Jasper's F in biology earned a camping trip to boost his morale. My A in art theory got a distracted good work, stay focused. When he wrecked Dad's snowmobile, they laughed about his wild spirit, buying him a new helmet. When I won a regional art exhibition at 16, Mom said, "That's nice, Alara, but don't let it derail your studies." I left for community college at 18, funding it with scholarships and selling my paintings, later enrolling in RISD's online program while working as a gallery assistant. Jasper stayed home, drifting through ski instructing, bartending, and now a green adventure vlog with a shadowy financial backing. I never begrudged his shine. I cherished his energy, seeing it as a counterpoint to my stillness. I drove home for his 23rd birthday, organized a ski lodge party, covered the DJ's fee when Mom forgot, and painted him a portrait as a gift. I sent Dad ecological journals, helped Mom with boutique accounts during blizzards, stayed up late editing Jasper's vlog scripts. But their holiday cards read, Jasper's blazing trails with Green Peak vlogs. Ilara's busy in the Adirondacks. Last spring, Jasper called, panicked about a failed vlog sponsorship. I wired him $2,500, no questions, and he called me his North Star. Then, on my birthday, he laughed and said, easier without your art clutter. A week later, I scrolled Instagram, seeking respite, and found a Thanksgiving post. The familiar pine table, Mom's holly centerpiece, Dad's burgundy napkins. Except I was gone. In my place stood Kiera Lang, a polished outdoor influencer with a mountain chalet and 1 million followers. She posed with Jasper, arms linked, Mom radiant beside them. The caption read, "Thankful for our new tribe this season." More photos followed. Kiera skiing with Dad, toasting cocoa with Mom, laughing with Jasper by the fire. My absence wasn't just a void. It was replaced, polished, and paraded for all to see. I checked our family chat, deleted, not muted, erased as if I'd never been. Old photos on Mom's profile, my 28th birthday, Dad's 70th, remained, but I was untagged, a specter in my own past. I called Aunt Margot, Dad's sister, who'd always framed my paintings. Her voice wavered. Ilara, dear, I thought you were on an art residency. That's what Sylvia said. I didn't argue. The truth crashed like an avalanche, heavier than her excuse. I hung up staring at the bare wall where our last family photo had hung. Me, Jasper, and Dad at the lake. Removed months ago, my heart sensing the rift before my mind accepted it. I didn't post, didn't text, didn't race to Lake Placid to demand answers. Friends invited me to their Thanksgivings. I declined with a strained smile, unwilling to lean on their kindness. My coworker Leo offered to crash their dinner with a canvas, to paint the town red. I laughed, but said, no spectacle needed, just watch me soar. I packed away the holiday decor, string lights with pine cones, a painted snowflake ornament I'd made at 13, handling each piece like a fragile shard of a lost family. The gifts stayed buried in the crate. On Thanksgiving, I brewed a solitary cup of peppermint tea with honey, sat by my window, and watched snow dust the pines, the silence a defiant melody. No music, no calls, just the fireplace's soft pop and my steady breath, a rebellion in quietude. I walked the forest trail later, boots crunching snow, watching families gather around campfires, their joy a stark contrast to my isolation. The world was festive, but I was liberated, unshackled from their narrative. In mid-December, a letter arrived, not from Lake Placid, but from Burlington, Vermont. A thick parchment envelope bore the seal of Hargrove and Lane, attorneys at law. Expecting a creditor's notice, I opened it with trepidation. Dear Miss Alara Quinn, as executor of the estate of Margaret Quinn, your presence is requested regarding inheritance matters. Grandma Margaret, my father's mother, whom I thought had passed 8 years ago after a whispered stroke. I dialed the number, hands shaking. Miss Quinn, said a calm voice, attorney Rachel Hargrove. Margaret passed on November 7th, 2025. I regret you weren't notified. My heart stuttered. This year? My family said. Hargrove's tone gentled. Come to Burlington. There's more to this. 2 days later, I sat in her sunlit office, the green mountains looming beyond. She handed me a death certificate, Margaret Quinn, November 7th, 2025, and an obituary from the Burlington Times listing Sylvia, Walter, Jasper, but omitting me. Why wasn't I told? I asked, voice splintering. Hargrove slid a velvet-bound will across the desk. Margaret insisted you be contacted directly. She feared your family's influence. The will granted me everything: her Burlington estate with its art studio, a $7.2 million investment portfolio, her painting collection, and a gallery of her unfinished works. Jasper received $25,000, my parents a tarnished silver frame. A USB drive held a video dated March 2024. Margaret appeared, frail but commanding, her green eyes piercing the lens. "Ilara, my canvas of strength," she began, her voice a steady brushstroke. "If you're watching, I'm gone, and your family likely hid it. You were my muse, your brushstrokes of courage, your quiet resilience. Your parents leaned on me for Jasper's vlogs, took loans against my home without permission, pressured me to fund his dreams. I forgave, but I guarded you. This is yours. Paint your future." A second video showed financial records, loan contracts, her voice firm. "They bled my trust dry. Ilara never did. She forged her own path." I sat, stunned, the room tilting. They hadn't just excluded me from Thanksgiving, they'd buried her death, her funeral, her love, painting over my existence. Hargrove rested a hand on mine. "Margaret chose you for your authenticity." That was the deepest gash. Not the wealth, but the betrayal. A masterpiece of lies unveiled. I agreed to meet them at a Lake Placid cafe, neutral ground, not for peace, but to see their facades crack. I arrived early, securing a booth by the snow-dusted window, the storm outside a silent ally. Mom looked brittle, her coat clutched tight, hands trembling. Dad's shoulders sagged, his scarf damp with nervous sweat. Jasper strutted in, designer parka shining, his smirk dissolving under my steely gaze. They began with small talk: snowfall, the drive. Then Mom pivoted, her voice fragile. "Ilara, there's a misunderstanding with Margaret's estate. She was unwell those last few years." Jasper leaned back, smirking. "She loved me most. That will's a glitch." Dad murmured, "We could divide it fairly, keep the estate in the family." I leaned in, voice low and resolute, each word a stroke of truth. "Margaret saw you borrow against her home, hide her death, erase me from her life. She chose me because I earned my way, unlike you." Mom recoiled, her hands shaking. Jasper's fists balled, his bravado fracturing. Dad stared at his cold coffee, his silence a confession. "Ilara, don't be vindictive," Mom pleaded, her voice breaking. I stood, looming over them. Vindictive was letting me think she'd been gone 8 years. Vindictive was Thanksgiving without me, replacing me with Kira. Jasper snapped, "You're no sister if you take this." I met his eyes, icy and unyielding. I walked out, their protests, Mom's choked sobs, Dad's stammered pleas, Jasper's furious shouts fading into the blizzard. Texts poured in, Dad's, "We're still your blood," Mom's, "You're destroying us," Jasper's, "This is petty." I deleted them all. The rage melted into clarity, like sunlight piercing the pines. I sold Margaret's investments, kept the estate, and moved to Burlington. The house smelled of her turpentine, old canvases, and untapped potential. I transformed her gallery into Quinn Artistry, my studio, its walls adorned with her paintings and my new works. My first project was a mural for a youth center, the second, a portrait series for a refugee support group, each brushstroke honoring Margaret's vision. I hired Leo as my gallery manager, his wry humor grounding me, and we assembled a creative team. At night, I painted Margaret's unfinished landscapes, her voice a whisper in my mind. "Create, Ilara, paint your soul." This Thanksgiving, I hosted in my estate, not in Lake Placid, but a new refuge.
Leo brought apple pie, his family's recipe. Neighbor Hannah brought miso soup, her heritage warming the air. Friends, painters, poets, a mosaic of spirits filled the table with laughter, eclectic dishes, and stories. No turkey, just lanterns casting a golden glow, a violin duet playing softly, the windows fogging with life. I placed Margaret's photo on the mantel, us at her essay, both smiling, no one else in frame. A silent testament to her choice. Jasper emailed, demanding his $25,000, his tone arrogant. I forwarded it to Hargrove, who sent a legal cease and desist. Mom sent a tear-stained letter begging for family unity. I left it sealed. Dad called, leaving a voicemail of silence, a plea without courage. I didn't need their reconciliation. Quinn Artistry thrived, 15 commissions in the first month, then 25. A state grant for a public mural along Lake Champlain. The estate's oak door now bore a brass plaque, Ilara Quinn, artist. Margaret's legacy wasn't just wealth. It was proof I'd always been enough, a canvas they couldn't erase. They thought they'd painted me out, but I created a masterpiece they'd never enter. As I write this on June 30th, 2025, at 6:45 p.m., the estate resonates with the clink of brushes and the hum of my team, a family I've chosen. They thought my birthday ban was their triumph, but it was my awakening. If you've been silently replaced, drop one word below.